Okay, guys, we are back and we're continuing our read through of Volume 1 of Cascadia. And I'm still working on Part 1 here. This is going to be Chapter 4 from Part 1, fifth chapter in the novel. And this chapter is really a scene setting chapter. It's got some small character interactions. Fulbright is going to meet with Xavier and Will and eventually Rachel, and basically to hang out, drink beers, and then go back to his place to watch some TV. So this is a very, in terms of structure, very straightforward chapter, but it contains a lot of information about the context and the setting of that 2003 period in the Pacific Northwest. And so I like this chapter a lot because it's short and to the point and contains a lot of scene setting and good kind of classic character interactions with regard to the clique. So hang on and grab onto your seats for Columbia. Mom and Dad were going to a big corporate reception in the ballroom of the St. Vincent Grand downtown. They scheduled a cab and dressed up in tuxedo and gown, making a big fuss, so the odds were good they wouldn't be back until early in the AM. It was late afternoon on Saturday, February 1st. Rachel was working at McKinder Mall until 6, so Xavier sent out the call. Macmillan's text message spam promised to bring the Colt 45s, so that took care of the liquor situation. I'd spent all day getting the Matrix Bullet Time mod to work on a bootleg LimeWire copy of Max Payne, which, thanks to Matt's helpful troubleshooting on the forum, we did eventually manage. You could play out the lobby scene in ultra slow motion, or swoop around neo-noir Max Payne maps with infinite bullet time. I wondered how any big companies could top this, and the mod had just been made by some guy in Argentina and was free. So anyway, my brain was fried from hours of gaming by the time Mom and Dad dressed up and left, so I was definitely ready to go out and hang with Rachel and the clique at McKinder. I was playing Nine Inch Nails' The Fragile as I walked down to the waterfront, gloved hands thrust in the pockets of my ski jacket, a borrowed Nicole Jeffrey toque protecting my ears. My Timex said it was 4:56 in the afternoon, and I could see the sun already dropping towards Earth, creating long orange beams of light that cut into the edges of a cloudy cast iron sky. When I got down Cedarbrook to the Spanish Boulevard intersection, I jogged past the ice cream shop where Vanessa Payton worked, with its roadside box-potted dwarf pines and unoccupied patio coffee tables, to the crossing a couple of blocks from Ryan Allmayer's deli. I waited irreverently at the stoplight until it changed to blood red and brought the already crawling Saturday afternoon traffic to a halt. I hustled across the street between beams of blinding white halogen from the cars rushing to beat rush hour down Spanish Boulevard, either back into the suburbs or towards the highway on-ramp in downtown. My lungs were burning from the run, but I knew the way, and my clothes were warm. Across the avenue, I just had to walk down an open Swiss alley with a bank, a sushi restaurant, and a Turkish rug outlet on the curb, and then the street ended. There was a brambly pathway between wintry rosemary bushes that brushed against my coat, and as I ran, I crossed the unfenced section of the railway tracks, and then I was into Lindsay Copeland Park with its fir trees, shoveled pathways, and flat frozen grass. The park gradually descending at pace until it hit the boardwalk at the seawall and turned towards the pier for the meetup. The sun was dipping beyond the gray horizon at the water's edge. The oceanfront winter air smelled of seaweed and diesel fuel, a chill breeze blowing in from offshore, funneled between the islands across Macaulay Bay. The boardwalk was almost deserted, frozen crystals of precipitation the only motion visible under a mellow lighting emanating from lamps along the walkway. Offshore, the horizon darkened, the sun just a pearl at the terminator against the water, and between the islands in the bay I could see the blinking navigation lights of huge trans-Pacific freighters, and I could hear the steady sputter of immense ferryboat engines growing against the dull background thrum from where Price Avenue met Spanish Boulevard at the mall. A foghorn echoed out in the water. Seagulls swooped beneath the pier's tar-covered pylons, seeking washed-up starfish and loose mussels. Ocean waves crashed against the barnacle-slathered rocks at the base of the seawall. The wind gusting through the pier's graffitied timbers was biting, despite my insulated jacket. So I was glad I wasn't standing out on the pier for long before Spicer walked in from the boulevard. "Fulbright," he waved. "Hey, Will," I shouted back. He jogged past an old red-faced man in a tweed jacket and cap who was walking the seawall. Spicer had to check himself when he hit a patch of ice, but then skipped down the wooden pier and slid up and gave me a clique handshake while I was leaning against the cedar beam railing. He was wearing a purple Ivory Porter sweater, newish blue jeans, and incongruous sneakers. The spearmint stripes and raked edges of a polo collar poked around his neck and numb-looking earlobes. He seemed nervous or excited. "What's up? Did you see what happened to the space shuttle, Jono?" "What happened?" "Oh, shit, man." Will shook his head, cold breath pulsing around him. "It's gone." "Gone?" "Disintegrated on re-entry," Will explained. "Dad was watching C-SPAN. I saw it happen." "What went wrong?" "They don't know." Will paused, glancing up at the night sky, now more dangerous and ominous than it had been before. "Bush said it wasn't terrorism, that it just disintegrated." "When?" "A couple hours ago." Will used his thinly gloved fingers to make a scattering effect. "Broke into a bunch of little flaming bits all over the U.S." "Shit," I said. "They haven't lost one since..." "Challenger." Will again gazed into the skyline, mumbling to himself. "Columbia, cursed seas." I imagined the horror. "Remember Apollo 13? I asked Will, and of course he remembered the Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, Bill Paxton, Ed Harris tactical space nightmare hours we'd spent in theaters with his mom in 1995. "How can they pull off the moon mission, not kill anyone, but they can't do some shuttle missions without blowing up?" "They did kill an Apollo crew," Will said, certain. "In space, though?" I pressed him. "No," he admitted. "But the Russians had some crews die during re-entry. This is way worse, man." "Fuck," I said, thinking. Xavier's going to say this is fake or aliens or something. "Is he coming down here?" Will looked confused. "He's supposed to be bringing the beer. I thought you knew." "I only saw the message after homework. What about Rachel?" She's still working." I checked the illuminated screen on my phone. "But she's meeting us afterwards." "What happened to your jacket?" I looked down at the duct-taped rip. "I hit some tree branches trying to do Glades, backcountry, with Nicole and David Whitby." I smiled while I told him the story of how one of my skis went into a mogul and didn't pop off, so I got clipped horizontal and they had to dig me out. Jacket got scratched against a tree, and I'd bruised my shoulder hitting the packed powder, but it was a worthy sacrifice to get sick air. "Nice," Will nodded. "So what's happening?" "My place." I shuffled in my boots. "Parents are out. Games, movies, whatever," I said. My lips were getting cold. "I've got Valhalla on every computer in the house. We can do a LAN, play some Smash Bros, Ghost Recon, you name it." "Maybe I can get Nicole to show up." Will automatically reached for his phone in the pocket of his jeans. "Xavier already messaged her." I cackled at him. "I called and she's not answering." Will stopped moving, stared at me blankly, and then put the phone back into his pocket. "Thought up an ending for the Lich King yet?" I wanted to know. "Yeah." Will licked his chill lips, leaning beside me, his back against the railing, icy wind from offshore gusting against us. "He's going to turn Ken into a rabbit and then swallow him whole." "They're not going to like that." "Did you read the rattlesnake thing on Palu Forum?" "No, what?" I asked. "This guy on the Zenith Systems forums is dying of cancer." "Oh, shit," I said. "Dude, you are nothing but bad news. Listen to me, Fulbright. Yes, it sucks, and Pello actually knows the guy, too." "What's his name?" "He's Gage Blackwood on the forums." Will was breathing steam. "So what happened?" "He's our age, but got some rare bone cancer, uncurable." I grimaced. "Anyway, Zena's brought him in on a golden ticket deal, One Wish Foundation." "Right," I nodded, wondering where he was going with this. "Yeah, so he toured the whole Rattlesnake team, and they let him play the current build." Spicer blinked at me like I wasn't paying attention, but I was. "You should definitely read this review. Matt linked it on the forum." "I'll check it out." I couldn't imagine getting to play Rattlesnake, let alone getting to see it in the studio. What had the guy seen that had been worth dying for, I was thinking. "He said it was worth dying for," Will whispered, and I was stunned. Whoa. I know, right? I mean, if I were dying of bone cancer, I'd wish for a blowjob from Denise Richards or something. "This guy's a super fan," Will continued. "His whole life he's been dreaming about Xena Systems, living on the forums, playing for Valhalla high scores, posting everything he can find about Rattlesnake." "Wasn't he good at Valhalla?" "No," Will coughed. "He sucked at it. Matt played him, but it doesn't matter." I shook my head, staring into the pitiless dark, angel's green ocean, the tidal waves smashing into polished rocks. The sun was gone, but the ship lights offshore were still blinking like unanswered text messages. Feeling a powerful urge to get real, I faced Spicer. What's going on, dude? What do you mean? I looked up at the moonless sky. Twin towers explode, space shuttle breaks up, guys dying of cancer, and we're still here. It's messed up, Will nodded solemnly. Millennium. And in history class, Campbell was telling us the U.S. is going to invade Iraq. Yep. Will's face was contorting. Mom's going crazy about that. She says it's going to be Vietnam all over again. At least we're not involved, I mused. Thank Christ. Mom would probably flee to Canada. Hey, I said, pointing to the parking lot. Is that Xavier's car? Where? It's definitely his. Nissan. Oh, yeah, Will squinted, his glasses foggy. The car's headlights flashed as it pulled into the Lindsay Copeland parking lot and lurched to a stop. I could see Xavier, seemingly dressed entirely in black and wearing a fat snowboard jacket, getting out. He did a 180 and pulled a backpack from the passenger seat. Dude, I hit Will on the shoulder. Tell him about the shuttle. You think he doesn't know? I didn't know. And Xavier watches less TV news than me. Xavier strutted through the empty parking lot and across the boardwalk onto the pier, backpack hanging off his shoulder. What's up, gays? He said crookedly. Hey, McMillan, I said. You see about the Columbia? Prompted Will. Yep, I did. Xavier shook his head, frustrating me. That shit is depressing. Sucks. I didn't think you'd believe it, I said to Xavier. Apollo was fake, Jono. Xavier was amused. Stanley Kubrick filmed that shit. But the shuttle was real? The shuttle was real. Xavier's brown eyes were adjusting to the darkness. Why do you think they spent so much time screwing around in low Earth orbit? Asking like it was obvious. When we were supposedly on the moon, 30 years ago? That's what I said. And fucked if I know why, funk soul brother. Xavier was still talking, but distracted by something, noticing the envious freighter lights on the terminal horizon. But if they can't even do a couple of shuttle missions without one blowing up, do you honestly believe they landed on the moon? I didn't say anything. In my mind, I was thinking of the Mona Lisa smiles on the faces of my copy-autographed Apollo 11 crew poster. I imagined Armstrong and Aldrin touching the moon, the way it showed on their faces after splashdown during the press conference, that they'd just done the most incredible thing in the history of the world and were humble about it. So what do you think happened? Seems kind of obvious, Fulbright, Xavier said, breaking the spell. Burned up on re-entry. Everyone fucking crisping bacon, Jono. Broke up, Will corrected. We all looked up at the blackness ascending above the city lights. Is that the beer? I asked, pointing my chin towards Xavier's backpack. Yep. He raised the backpack a little with his shoulder. I could hear bottles clinking inside. Where should we go? I asked. McKinder, Fulbright. Xavier made a face at me like I was stupid. Gotta find your girlfriend first, though. I'm hungry, Will added. Go get Allmayer to make you a sandwich, Xavier chuckled. Let's just get some pepperoni from Firewood, I said. It's in the mall. I thought you were meeting Rachel. She plays Necrons at Games Workshop after closing, I explained, checking my watch. It was 6:32 p.m. She's doing that right now. Whatever. Xavier watched the seaplane blinking, descending towards the mirror-shade luminescence of the St. Vincent skyline. And then he turned to go. Let's get crunk! We walked back to Xavier's car, and he drove us the half-kilometer to McKinder Mall. The mall was built 4 stories high along the waterfront, crossing Spanish Boulevard by a functional cement split pedestrian and vehicle arch. The mall roof on the ocean-facing side was a flat-topped car park decorated with secret stairways and rhododendron bushes in colossal ceramic planters. Ventilators and air conditioning hubs dotted the roof of the multi-story parkade like the chambered atmospheric control systems on the International Space Station. Xavier found a spot on the crowded roof, and we stepped between patches of blue ice and muddied frozen snow to the pedestrian entrance, then marched through tall double doors opening into the cavernous foyer. The mall's multi-level concourse was filled with shoppers. I breathed in the heated air, smelling of flower shops, perfume outlets, and the food court. We bought pizza slices on paper plates at the Firewood parlor and took the glass elevator back up to the top, from where there was a discreet side door behind the Cascadian positronics shop that opened into the parking lot. Someone had left a rusted tin can just propping open the green steel door, the can filled with sand and squashed cigarette butts. We were sitting on the cement curvature of the fire escape. The sky was dark now, but there was plenty of orange light coming off the parking lot, intensified by the halogen street lamps along the boulevard. Where'd you get these? I asked Xavier, who was kneeling as he pulled bottles of Colt 45 from his backpack. He grinned up at me and tapped his nose. He stole them from Bethfest, Will guessed. Wrong, said Xavier. On second thought, I realized I don't want to know. My phone was vibrating. It was Rachel, so I took the call. Hey, she said. Hey, I said. I'm about finished. They closed G-Dub late and they're caching. I can meet you in like 10 minutes. Sure, I said. We're up behind Positronics. Cool, she replied. I'll see you in a bit. Bye. I hung up. Will and Xavier glanced at me. Rachel's coming in a few. Here. Xavier handed me one of the bottles of Colt 45. I twisted off the screw top and gulped down the beer, the boozy malt liquor immediately warming me despite the chill February air. Yum, I said, wiping my mouth with the back of my hand. What do you want, Spicer? Didn't know there was a choice. What else you got? Six-pack of Pilsner. Sure. Xavier pulled a silver can of cheap beer from its plastic and handed it to Will. Will cracked open the beer, foam blasting from its pressurized aluminum. I'm going to Palladium next week. You guys want to come? In the city? Yes, said Will. Did you know that Matt went to Necrowombicon? The fuck is that? Penny Arcade show in Canada, Xavier smirked at me. What was he playing? I asked. Halo 2 demo, Will said incredulous. You didn't read about this on the forum either, Fulbright? Maybe on his live journal? Last year, right? I thought Will was showing off. Right, Will nodded, now unsure himself. It was weird I didn't remember this. Specifically, I definitely hadn't seen anything about it on Pello Forum. Xavier was bored already, so he changed the subject. Why do they call it St. Vincent anyway? He asked. Some old English name, isn't it? Wrong. Spicer jumped on it, preparing with a sip of beer. It's Portuguese, like Portuguese missionaries. Wild, I said. Man, Xavier blinked his eyes. I cannot wait for it to be summer. Tell me about it, Will agreed. Coldest winter in years. La Nina. Good skiing, though. I swigged my Colt 45. Except you can't ski for shit, Xavier laughed, gesturing at the rip on my jacket. I shook my head and made a daffy face. It was my fault for following Nicole and Whitby when they went down this backcountry. There were some snowshoers we met on the way up, and they promised it was the deepest powder, which I guess it was. That's what you get for trusting David Whitby. Xavier unscrewed his malt liquor and swirled around some in his mouth like a barley mash, as though it were fine brandy. It wasn't a big deal. I made a big deal of it. I just hit a branch and it ripped the jacket. Sucks, but whatever. Nothing a little fashionable duct tape can't fix, huh, Jono? Are you guys reading Krakow? Will wanted to know. No, Penny Arcade, Xavier said, and Control-Alt-Delete sometimes. Mac Hall, I said. Apple Geeks? Rachel likes VG Cats. Oh no, Xavier took a pull on his Magnum. Not Mega Tokyo? Ask her when she gets here, I said. You're never going to get laid, Piro. Xavier headbanged, but his hair flipped forward out of his ponytail. Never gonna get laid. Well, anyway, interrupted Will, Krakow did this rift on Mega Tokyo, and holy shit, it was gold. Easy target, though. Will tilted his head back and swallowed Colt 45. Puro is a puss. I rest my case. That's the joke. Will tossed his empty beer can ominously down the stairwell. You got another one of those Pilsners? Yeah, here. Xavier checked his backpack. I sipped malt liquor and watched the cars merging onto the highway above Cedarbrook. Did you guys see the Animatrix trailer? I shifted gears like Nicole when she was driving through the snow. I heard they hired that Zio Zio guy to do it. Xavier burped. They're making 2 movies at once is what I read. Will was cracking open his second beer. That's how they did Lord of the Rings, I nodded. Shot it all at once. Man, Will was turning his head from side to side. Such a great movie. And maybe they'll make the Silmarillion next. I just want a Metal Gear movie, said Xavier. Careful what you wish for. Will tossed some snow at him. They've never made a good video game movie. Mortal Kombat, I said right away. Nah, Will shook his head. Too corny. I leaned over to him. Did you ever see the Wing Commander movie? What did I say? Will acted hurt. There are no good video game movies. You're both wrong. Xavier licked his lips. Tomb Raider is the best video game movie. He took a drink. I glanced at Will. He shrugged. The fire exit door popped open with a lurch, and the 3 of us faced the door, beers out, totally red-handed like Shaggy. But it was just Rachel Whitby. American woman, Will shouted. 52 girls, shouted Xavier. Underage drinking, Rachel gasped, smiling at me. I smiled back. After we polished off the beers and tossed the bottles at the tree line behind the parking lot, Xavier drunkenly drove us back to Cedarbrook, which was easy once you've done it a few times. He made sure to take the low road along Spanish Boulevard, only turning onto the drive at the last minute before the highway on-ramp. It took 15 minutes to make the 5-minute drive from McKinder to my parents' house. Park on the curb, I told him as we crept up lights low. You're blocking the garage. Your parents won't like that, drunk Rachel giggled. How do you know, Whitby? Spicer was being belligerent for no reason and realized that. I've been here before, dumbass. I was just checking. Fine, Fulbright. Xavier reversed slowly across the cul-de-sac and parked the sedan alongside the driveway beside Mom's winterized hedges. Will and Rachel got out of the car. I turned to Xavier and he looked back at me. We're clear? His face was etched with seriousness. Yeah, I said. Mom and Dad are downtown. Roger that, he said, pocketing his car keys deliberately and picking up his substantially lighter backpack and climbing out of the driver's side. I opened the passenger door and braced against the cold. I fumbled around in my coat pocket for the house keys, located them, and steadied my hands, pressing past Will and Rachel so I could unlock the front. As soon as the door opened, I could hear Aristotle mewing, complaining about food I'd forgotten to leave out hours ago. Rachel, who had consumed about half of my Colt 45, had to pee, so she rushed to the downstairs bathroom. I gotta piss too. Will had a reckless grin on his face. Use the bathroom upstairs, I said. Xavier kicked off his shoes at the entrance and headed for the living room. Aristotle was rubbing against my leg, so I picked him up and carried him to the kitchen. There was a can of tuna in one of the cupboards. I got out a can opener from the countertop drawer and pried the tuna open, the cat meowing frantically. Here, I said, spooning fish into his bowl. Rachel came out of the bathroom and met me in the kitchen. You want another drink? I asked. Sure, thanks, she said, cheeks red. I can't get too drunk, though, or Mom will kill me. You're staying here, right? Rachel kissed me on the cheek. Oh, you're freezing, she noticed. I'll turn the fireplace on, I said, pinching her on the arm. Let's watch a movie, she suggested. Good idea, I agreed. Rachel twirled around, and I followed her into the living room. Xavier was slouched on Dad's recliner. Will strolled in dramatically and fake collapsed on the carpeting. That was fun, eh? Xavier slurred. I wish you'd bought hard lemonade instead, Rachel said. Or wait, I wish Lee Jeffrey had bought Nicole. You and Beth, Xavier shook his head. What is it with girls and sugar water? Get off my case, Whitby. You chugged them too, Macmillan, Will pointed out from the floor. Yeah, but I don't buy them. They're tasty, I said. That's the idea, Fulbright. I climbed onto the couch, putting my legs out. Rachel curled up beside me and closed her eyes. Will was standing to see what we were going to watch. Are you crunk? Xavier asked. Negative, said Will. Just tired. Will, I slid out of Rachel's grip and turned to face him. Can you steal me some more of Xavier's beer? Roger that, he said, closing it on Xavier, who had left his backpack unguarded on the ground. Joke's on you, he said. There's only Pilsner left. Can you turn on this fire? I distracted Xavier since the controller was on the table beside the lazy boy. With a press of a button, the hearth was on, natural gas radiating heat across the room. TV next, I ordered as they watched me. Give me the remote, Xavier demanded, so I picked it off the couch, powered up the CRT screen, and tossed it over to him. Xavier caught the remote and flicked past episodes of Will and Grace, Futurama, Dexter's Laboratory, an episode of the Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego game show, and was starting to watch Road to El Dorado, but Will vetoed it. Saw that on Christmas, he said by way of explanation. Whatever. Will checked the satellite menu, locating the movie tab on the CRT display. It took him a few minutes to figure out how the on-demand system worked. When he did, he started scrolling through movies, pay-to-rent films, documentaries, pornography. Don't even think about it, I said. Rachel giggled and opened her eyes. You don't want to watch Jenny and the Three Fucketeers? Veto, I said. What, Ace Ventura? Xavier sighed. Seen it too many times. Will interrupted again. Next. Xavier stopped on Roman Holiday. I said, that's too old. It's a really good movie, Macmillan complained, annoyed. You guys should get some taste. Wait, go back to the porno, Rachel suggested, twirling my hair with her fingers in an alluring way. Let's just watch a DVD. Will look pained now. Jono, I know you've got hidden liquor. Hang on, I'm not done yet. Xavier exited the rent-a-movie menu and continued scrolling. Just play something. I was getting fed up, and pretty soon we'd finish off Xavier's beers. Rachel leaned her head on my shoulder, and her hair smelled like kiwis. Why'd you give him the remote? Will glared at me. Oh, sorry, I said. Let me just use my telekinesis here. I put my hands to my temples and narrowed my eyes. Xavier kept flipping through the channels until he landed on something he liked. He clicked in, and when I adjusted my eyes, the TV was filled with the high-contrast lighting of a professional Hollywood movie. Suited up and surrounded by glowing light, Dennis Leary and Rene Russo were in a sophisticated-looking control room, watching a bank of computer terminals. Hey, Rachel perked up. Good choice for once, Macmillan. Better than Sean Bean in... Will was nodding. Shut the fuck up, Spicer. Xavier cut him off. This is better than GoldenEye. I didn't say anything. Pierce Brosnan appeared on screen, effortlessly embodying an expensive and stylish outfit. 3 pieces crowned with bowler cap and red tie, suit coat and shiny Oxfords, and was carrying a brown leather briefcase. He was inside some crowded building, the cameraman filming from a ceiling position, framed through what appeared to be a surveillance camera. We were watching as Pierce walked into the lobby of a crowded building, like Neo and Trinity entering for the lobby shootout. What? I asked. Where is he? New York Art Gallery, said Rachel and Xavier at the same time. Do you remember that time? Will nudged Xavier. Yeah, said Xavier. Your mom's favorite movie. Will shook his head. Rachel was downing the last can of Pilsner. The hell is he doing? Wondered Dennis Leary, walkie-talkie in hand as he was watching Brosnan carefully turn 360 degrees on the video screens. It's like he wants us to know that we see him, Dennis Leary said. Through the TV monitors in the control room, we watched in grainy black and white as Frankie Faison spoke back to Leary through a walkie-talkie, his suited security men moving around him, down a marble gallery staircase, pushing past a crowd of people. Go pick him up, commanded Leary over the radio, and we were watching in full color from the gallery floor as Faison patted one of his lieutenants on the back, calmly dispatching the guy. Pick him up, Faison relayed coolly. The music changed pace, a new rhythm cutting in, swelling, building momentum. The camera focused on Brosnan, a close-up shot showing his poetic reserve. Let's play ball, he said. I looked over Rachel's head at Xavier and Will, and by now they were fully engrossed. On the monitor, I watched as Brosnan winked sideways at the camera, eyes flickering over to the left corner of the screen, just for a second. John McTiernan cut away to a shot of the leather briefcase as Brosnan dropped his identical satchel down and made the switch. Shit. In the control room, Dennis Leary, walkie-talkie in hand, watched on the screens as the switch happened. Nina Simone started to play the piano. He switched the painting. Leary was caught off guard, checking quickly with one of the gallery officials. The computer guys watching the monitors looked impressed. There's guys with bowler hats all over the place, one guard said while another older guy was giving instructions. The camera operator tracked around his viewpoint, catching the expressions on the faces of the cops, watching helpless as unbelievable events unfolded before their eyes. But in the control center, Rene Russo was smiling at the cameras, rolled past that weird René Magritte painting of the green apple face guy. Did you warn him? Leary turned dramatically to face Russo. No, she said. Did you warn him? Leary repeated, trying to intimidate an answer. No, Russo intoned in a convincing way. Leary paused, thinking. Then he knew you were going to betray him. The camera panned back to the gallery floor. Pierce Brosnan walked into the crowd of bowler hats and simply vanished, disappearing amidst a cloud of people who looked just like him.